and welcome to another module in the Blue Apple Education series, the importance of branding and marketing for your school. In this video, we're going to be specifically looking at your school brand. And this module presents an opportunity for you to consider the brand that your school is currently presenting and the effects that this can have on the perception of prospective new parents, new members of staff, your parent body, and other stakeholders. We're going to take a look at why this is important, and we'll learn some lessons from the commercial world that can be easily adopted into a school environment. By the end of this session, and in conjunction with some of the other videos in this series, we're aiming to give you the knowledge and the insight to take away and ensure that you're able to influence and build and develop a strong school brand that's going to have a real impact on the effectiveness of your marketing and your communications. Okay, make sure you have a pen and some paper. You're going to need those a little bit later on. So let's get started. And remember, if you have any questions, be sure to email them across to mark@blueappleuk.com. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you've got. If you'd like to arrange for a quick chat, if you've got some ideas or you just wanted to bounce some ideas off us, then again, feel free to get in touch. So, what is a brand? I quite like this definition. The overall experience of a customer that distinguishes a school from any other. And the fact that a brand is reflected in everything that you do. So, the experience that distinguishes a school from any other. This is really, really important. At Blue Apple, all of our clients are schools, and we're quite often asked as a design company, how can we possibly only work with schools? How do we make the work that we create inventive and creative and different when we're just dealing with schools all the time? And the key to that is this distinguishing a school from any other. It's an understanding of what makes a school remarkable, what makes it different. How does a school stand out from the crowd? How does it approach education in a different way to another school? Who are you? What is the character of your school? Let's consider two brands that we know already, those being Aldi and Waitrose. And on face value, they're effectively both the same type of shop. They sell food in much the same way that a school is a school. But immediately, hopefully, you recognise that there's a real difference between the two brands, and in fact, suggesting that they're the same seems a little bit ridiculous. They've got very different approaches to their brand and what they offer to their customers. They stand for different values, and they approach this whole branding exercise in a very different way. So your brand is actually reflected in everything that you do. And from a school point of view, they're the obvious things that you would think of, those being your logo and how that's used and how it appears and making sure that that's consistent. And then all of the other ways that you talk to, market and communicate your school. Everything from the newsletters that you send out right through to your, the things that you would consider from a marketing point of view, your website and your prospectus and your social media channels, but also your signage and your school uniform. There's lots of other things that might not be quite so obvious that form part of the brand. If we think about that first definition, it's that customer experience, their experience and their exposure to your school all forms part of the brand that you present. So how your phones are answered, are they answered in a professional way? Are they answered in a way that reflects your branding and your ethos and your vision as a school? The welcome that you get in the school office? I quite often tell of an example of a school that I've worked with quite a lot actually, and when we first had a chat about this and looked to discover what was remarkable about them, what made them different and what their character as a brand was, they explained that they were very family orientated, very friendly and approachable. But on one of my first visits to the school, I stood in their reception for about 5 or 6 minutes. I was noticed but not acknowledged by 4 members of staff. So actually I was stood in the reception and nobody had said hello, nobody had asked if I was being seen to or could they help me in any way. So actually my experience of their brand wasn't that they were friendly and approachable and all of the things that they wanted to present as a brand. Now, obviously, They are. When we meet up, that's exactly how they operate their school. But there's just something missing there, isn't there? As you visit that reception, really, in order to present a brand that is approachable and friendly, then they have to acknowledge that person walked through the door straight away, and they've got to present themselves in that way in order for the brand to ring true and to be correct. And there are some other things, obviously, that all tie into the brand. The fabric of the school. Does it look like it's well looked after? Has it been recently painted? Your student attitude and behaviour as they wander around the streets, or as you visit the school, what does that look like? All of these things pull together to form your branding. So let's just look at branding in the commercial world a little bit closer. And I'm going to use the example of Nespresso. The reason I've chosen Nespresso is that they effectively just sell coffee. So that question that I get asked by people quite a lot, how do we create work, how do we create marketing work for schools, school is a school, rings true here as well. Nespresso just make coffee. But if you look at the way that they talk about themselves, effectively how they present their brand, this is some text from their website, they would say that Nespresso is not just a coffee. They explain that it's a sensorial experience. It's a lifestyle that is simple yet refined, offering timeless elegance. And what you notice about this is that although they are effectively trying to sell coffee, what they're not talking about is coffee. They're not talking about the blend or the beans or the roast or the colour of the coffee or the smell. They're talking about this lifestyle and what it means to drink Nespresso over any other coffee. They talk here in the second line, every interaction with our customers is focused on allowing them to immerse themselves in the brand experience. So they're quite upfront that actually buying Nespresso and drinking Nespresso is an experience. It's not just about it being coffee. It's buying into what specifically choosing Nespresso over another coffee means to you. They would suggest that Nespresso, they look to surprise and delight and please their customers. Well, we would hope that everybody would do that. We'd hope that every school would look to do that at every possible opportunity. And customers value the brand's innovative spirit and dedication to quality, style and service. Quite an important use of the word style there. If you look at one of the Nespresso shops, this is actually the Nespresso shop at the Trafford Centre in Manchester. And to me, it looks a bit like a boutique hotel in the way that it's been styled, and it's tying into this whole lifestyle choice. It's designed to make people feel special when they go in there. Remember, they're just buying coffee, but they want to make buying coffee a whole experience. And if you travel to the back of the room, so in the photograph there, you can just see the coffee room at the back, and that's effectively a counter whereby you can taste the coffee and chat to some of the salespeople there. You'll notice you can't really see the tills. It's not designed as a traditional shop. It's all about the experience of going in and tasting the coffee, and actually you walk out having spent £25 or £30 on coffee without realising exactly what you were doing. So why is this important? Well, effectively, understanding their brand, allows the people at Nespresso to have a very easy job when it comes to making decisions about their marketing and about how they communicate to their customers. And this is a lesson that we as schools can learn from. So if you consider their advertising, when they're looking for somebody to front their advertising campaign, the choice is narrowed hugely because they need somebody that fits in with that whole idea of the quality and style and the lifestyle and what it means to drink Nespresso. And obviously George Clooney becomes that really obvious choice. He fits in perfectly with the way that they're trying to present themselves. This advert would look very different with Danny Dyer sat sipping the coffee. It doesn't fit the brand. So what I'm saying effectively is understanding who you are, what you're about and what you represent will actually really help when it comes to you putting together a prospectus, looking at the front page of your website, designing an advert that's going to go in the local press to encourage people to attend your open day, or any other form of communication, your newsletters, however else you're expressing yourselves. Understanding your brand guides the tone of voice and the way that those things are presented, and will even guide the photography that you use and the styling of that photography and how that appears. Okay, so let's look a little bit more specifically at some school branding examples, and let's look initially at the use of a school logo. So I'd like you to consider the logo that I'm showing on screen at the moment, and specifically what this says about the school that it represents. So I ask this question quite a lot. I've used this logo in a number of sessions, and the sorts of responses that I tend to get are around this independent and traditional feel. People explain that they think it looks really quite old-fashioned, that it's perhaps an academic school, so that old-fashioned academic focus, traditional, independent, and even specifically a grammar school, I hear from time to time. And lots of other words and phrases all around the same sort of feel. There's quite a specific tagline in there, achieving the best, which is really quite in your face, isn't it? It's there's nothing very soft about that message at all. So it usually comes as quite a surprise when I explain that this logo actually represents a special school, and a special school that offers a very specialist provision to students with profound physical and mental disabilities. As a logo, I'm sure you'll agree, it's pretty hopeless. It's so off-brand. So we've not even looked at specifically what this special school offers and what makes them different to other special schools, but simply by the fact that they are a special school, this logo is just way off the mark. It isn't representing that at all. There's a whole process that you would look to go through before you would create a logo specifically for any school. You would really want to get under the skin of the school and have a really deep understanding of what makes them tick, and perhaps more specifically what stakeholders, existing parents, pupils, members of staff, and other people associated with the school, what they value about the school. Because actually that's what your logo, and your logo forming the very first part of your brand, that's what it should represent. I'm quite often asked when I show this if the school is still using this logo. They're not. We did work with them over a period of time. We went through that whole process, and there's a whole rationale behind why their new logo actually looks like what you're looking at on screen at the moment. But hopefully you'll appreciate that it is much more in keeping with the environment of a special school, and it does specifically talk to Pear Tree School and people associated with Pear Tree School. Okay, so I explained that there was a whole process that we would go through before we looked to start branding a school. The logo being the start of that brand, but actually then we would look at everything around that branding. So the key messaging, the colours that we'd use, the styling of photography, even the font that you would use, the layouts of everything. So there's a question that we need to ask before we get into any of that. And this is the first question that we tend to ask to start that process of getting under the skin of a school, understanding who they are, understanding what they're about. So I would like you to consider this question. What is remarkable about your school? What makes it remarkable? What makes it stand out from other schools? How is it different? What is the school's unique selling point? And see if you can encapsulate that in a single word or perhaps a short sentence. Hopefully, you'll find that quite easy to do. But if not, don't worry, it's something that we want to help you develop. Okay, so if you've managed to do that, great. If not, just pause the video for a moment until you're happy with your answer. Okay, so is everybody back with us? Fantastic. Hopefully now you have an answer to the question, what is remarkable about your school? And actually, this is a really good exercise for you to conduct within school. Pose the question to your current parent body, to your staff, to your pupils, to governors, and see if you can uncover what they value in the school. It's going to be interesting to see if that differs from your own thoughts and your own perceptions and your own views on who the school is and what you represent. Actually, it's really important that your branding represents what everybody else values in the school, because then you get that buy-in and it will ring true. So when somebody comes to visit the school or starts engaging with the school, what you actually want them to find is that what they thought they were going to get is exactly what they do get. And that's what a good brand should provide for you. So this is actually a question, what is remarkable about your school, that I've asked hundreds of schools across the country. And as you can imagine, I've received a whole host of different answers to what is fundamentally a very simple question. And we're looking on the screen at the moment at a small selection of those answers that I've received across the years. But this is a really great place to start. Think back to how an understanding of the brand made it really simple for Nespresso to choose an actor for their advert campaign. So too, an understanding of your school brand can help you with the decisions you make in terms of how your school is represented. Let me show you what I mean. There are lots of different approaches to a school website. Some are much more effective than others, but the most important thing is to ensure that you're truly representing your school, not just any school. And so often I see school websites that could be representing any school. It's hard to determine what the school is trying to say to potential new parents and new members of staff and anybody else viewing the website. And remember, this could be the first exposure that somebody has to your school. So all of these examples that we've got on screen, they're fairly generic. They don't really tell me a great deal about the schools that I'm looking at. What might be and might seem to be a perfectly practical solution for the need to have a school website can quite easily and quickly get lost in a whole host of other schools. And it's important to consider who it is that you're talking to. So these examples that we've got on screen at the moment, well, they'd appear to be geared towards children. And is that actually the audience for the website? Who is actually going to be looking at the website? It's probably not the children. So it's better to design a site that talks about your brand in the correct way and to the correct audience, and that will actually stand out from that sea of very, very similar websites out there. And actually you'll find, from a cost point of view, it doesn't cost any more to design a website in this way. It's just about thinking about your brand at the front end and making sure that that carries through with the design that is created, and making sure that that's clear to anybody that you engage to create a website or actually any other work that they're going to create for you. Make sure that they insist on having that understanding of you. How are they going to design anything for you if they don't understand who you are? Okay, so some pointers on where to start with this. And really, pictures do speak 1,000 words. If you've ever tried to put together your school prospectus, planned your school website, thought about an advert for the next open day, tried to put the design for your vinyl banner at the front of the school, and you've started with the content, with paragraphs of text, with the headmaster's welcome, with your vision and values, then you're probably working the wrong way round. Think back to your remarkable. Take a look at the piece of paper you've got in front of you and think about how we are best going to represent that. And the best place to start representing that is with the images, the photography that you're going to be using across your marketing and your communications. Images that have been created specifically to represent what is remarkable about your school. And strong imagery can take you from this sort of thing that we see all of the time. A school prospectus. This is actually a very long 36-page, I think, school prospectus that very much has started with the content. It's very verbose, it's very text heavy, and then they've looked for nice pictures that they can drop in to break up the text. And actually you want to lead with the imagery. Think about what it is that you're trying to say and create design around that imagery, because the pictures are going to speak a lot louder than all of the text that you create. So in this example, we've got the head teacher pictured with his pupils, engaged in activity outside. And this is a much stronger image than that traditional head and shoulders shot of a head teacher or a picture of the head teacher sat behind their desk. Here he is engaged with his pupils, because that is actually what's really important for a parent to see. And for a prospective new member of staff, this speaks volumes to them about how the head teacher is engaged with the school and engaged with pupils. And you start to make certain associations with that and what you can expect from the school. Okay, it's important that your messaging matches your photography. This is an example of an image you can currently see on a school website. It is a live image, but the image seems to have no relevance to the messaging, proud of our history. So the whole brand is effectively getting lost. What is the school actually trying to say here? If you compare this to this image, which I love this image. Again, I've picked this from a live website. You can see this on a school website at the moment. And to my mind, the image and the message here are perfectly aligned and on brand. I get a sense that I know what the school is offering and that I like what the school is offering. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Some action points to take away from this quick session on your school brand. And that is to look whether or not you've got a handle on what your brand is. So that is what is remarkable about your school. And going away and asking other stakeholders what they value in your school, so that you get a picture of what that is all about. Once you've got that understanding, and you've got a commitment from those other people that, yeah, that's how we should represent ourselves, take a fresh look at all of the ways that you communicate. And I've said website and prospectus there, but actually all of the ways that you're communicating with your parent body, with prospective parents, with prospective new members of staff, however else you're communicating with the outside world and internally within the school. Is it on brand? What is it actually saying about your school? Is it saying what you want it to say? Because it really should be reflecting what is remarkable about your school. That's so important. Often a very small cost of some professional photography can really help to maximise the effectiveness of your existing investment. And work to a brief. So if you are going to get some photography created, make sure the photographer that you're getting in understands what it is that you're trying to achieve. So they're not just coming in to take some nice imagery of your school, but they're actually creating imagery that reflects the brand and reflects the messaging that you're trying to put across. And that's been considered before the photo shoot happens. And if you then think that small outlay, you get some photography that does just that, that talks about and represents your brand, then for not a very large outlay, you could use your existing website and update the imagery that's on the existing website to bring it on brand. That photography can then be used in your external communications. When you start to look at creating a new prospectus, then you've got imagery there that's already on brand. Half of that design work has already been done for you, because the use of that image is going to be putting across the right sort of message. Okay, so other modules in this session will look more in depth at the range of issues that we've touched upon in this session. Our photography module will help you prepare for a photo shoot. Again, as I've just explained, that will take you through how you prepare to have photography that's designed to provide images that are on brand and support your messaging. We've got a module that looks specifically at very cost-effective ways to improve not only the branding on your website, but also how effectively it's working for you to sell the school and provide real inquiries and admissions. We have a module that looks at the design of a prospectus and what you should expect from that and how that should work, and how you create your content around that. There's lots more besides. There's lots of hints and tips, so check out those other videos. And remember, if you've got any questions that have come from the video that you've just watched or any of our other videos, please feel free to email me at any time. My address is mark at blueappleuk.com, and I promise to get back to you. Thanks very much for your time. I hope you found this session enjoyable, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon.